So welcome along to A Story to Tell with me, Richard Beauvoisin. This is mainly taken from my Radio Bath show every Thursday morning from 10 until 12. If you do like it, don't forget to subscribe, share it to others and let everyone know all about Radio Bath. Hope you enjoy it. Morning everybody, so there's Sapphire by Ed Sheeran. It's Richard Beauvoisin here right until midday today, one of my favourite shows of the year today. Richard Saunders, local cricket umpire, sat opposite me. We're going to be chatting about cricket, going over the recent test that's just taken place between England and India. And also, we're going to be doing the Ask the Umpire section. Now, if you've never heard of the Ask the Umpire section, the basic principle is that if you have got a scenario in cricket that is quite complicated, i.e. the ball goes up in the air, hits a pigeon, comes down, a dog takes it off, runs around the pitch, somebody picks it up out their mouth and then gives it to a fielder, is it out? Any scenario like that you can think of, then do send them in. If you want to email studio@radiobath.com or text Bath followed by a message to 80011, be really keen. We'll be doing that in the second hour for Ask the Umpire. Here all right till midday today.
Don't like Jamaica.
Morning everybody. Couldn't really do any other song apart from that song to start off one of my favourite shows of the year. I am a cricket badger. I love cricket. I don't get to talk about it enough. I now have 2 hours on the radio where I get to just talk about cricket. And I know for some people it's probably not going to be that interesting. For some of you, I'm aware of that. But we will make it as entertaining as I possibly can. I promise you that. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning.
There you go. Come a bit closer to the microphone for me. There we go. Still got the lovely I Don't Like Cricket going on in the background. It's a great song.
It is.
It is a great song. So yeah, thank you for coming along. We've also got Alfie in the studio. He's here on work experience, looking very smart in his shirt and tie. We'll be chatting to him probably a bit later as well, okay? But, Richard, first of all, thank you for coming in. This is our third time of doing this, isn't it?
Yes, it is, and thank you very much for inviting me back.
That's okay. I enjoy it every time. Now, you are a neighbour of mine.
Absolutely.
And we're going to talk all about umpiring a bit later on. But first of all, we're actually going to go about the recent test that's just taken place between England and India.
Yes.
Did you catch up with much of it?
I didn't manage to watch much of it live, but I did watch the highlights in the evening. I try to avoid the scores when I've been umpiring during the week, which is very difficult because I like to watch the highlights not knowing what's happening. But I did watch the highlights when possible.
Do you know what? Back in 2005, I remember watching England v Australia, and it was the test where it went down. I think they needed 4 runs or something like that. And I remember being on my knees watching the TV going, come on, we can do this, because it was live on terrestrial TV back then. I had the same kind of feeling watching the last day. I actually had a meeting with, or a coffee with my eldest, and he said... And I said to him, do you know what? I'm going to put the cricket down, and this is about 2:00 in the afternoon. And I was like, well, I'm going to see him for an hour. It's going to be done by the time I'm finished with him. And then I turned my phone back on, and I think India had scored 2 runs in that hour. We'd taken no wickets. So it carried on until about 5:00. But yeah, it just kind of went on and on and on, just dragged on forever. But it was very enthralling. I thought it was anyway.
It was, and very intense. And the purists will say Test cricket at its best. 1 wicket remaining, not many runs required on the board, and despite the lack of action in terms of hits to the boundary, it was enthralling. Well, I would say that as a cricket lover, but yeah, very interesting.
Do you know, I've used this analogy a number of times, and I'm going to go through it again. And that is, you've got the 3 main formats of the game. You've got the 20-over cricket, you've got 50-over cricket, and you've got Test cricket.
Yep.
In 20-over cricket, it's like having a one-night stand. It's great fun, but it doesn't really mean anything. You've then got 50-over cricket, which is like a short relationship. It kind of has a bit more meaning to it, but it's a bit dull at times. But then you have Test cricket, and somebody said to me recently, it's like bringing up children. There's loads of really dull parts of it, but when the bits happen that mean something, it means a hell of a lot more. And I think that's a nice way of thinking about Test cricket.
I would agree. And those who don't understand Test cricket find it difficult to understand that perhaps you can play for 5 days and not come up with a result, which does happen, obviously. But no, the last test against India, I thought was... it grabbed one's attention.
It did. I mean, the first 3 days were quite dull. There's no other way of saying it.
And slow.
And slow. But then the last 2 days kind of They just exploded,
Yeah.
and it was brilliant. Now, I'm going to work backwards here. I've got a question regarding umpiring immediately for you, okay?
Right.
So the very last wicket, if you haven't seen it, I'll try and explain it. So Shohib Bashir bowled the ball. He's a spinner, and the batsman hit the ball with the centre of his bat. It dropped forwards, but then there was still spin on the ball,
Yes.
so the ball then span backwards towards his wicket and knocked a bail off, and that was the end of the game.
Yeah.
Okay, so my cricket question for you is, why didn't he just kick it away when he saw it going back to the wicket?
Good question. He was perfectly entitled to do that.
Was he?
Or hit the ball a second time to defend his wickets.
Okay.
The only thing he could not use is a hand that is not holding the bat. But why he didn't do that, you'd have to ask him, because it seems to me obvious to try and make the attempt to protect his wicket.
Because
Instead of
he didn't move.
No, he just stood there and watched it. So,
Yeah.
And only one bail needs to be removed. Yes, it's a good question. The only person who can answer that is himself.
Yeah, because he literally just watched it go by, and then it was the end of the game.
Yeah.
And I was like, why didn't he just... And I was thinking maybe it's a double hit, because that's, you're not allowed to do that.
You can legally hit the ball twice in the defence of your wicket.
Right.
You're not allowed to defend your wicket using a hand that is not in connection with the bat. Graham Gooch was famously out once doing that. He, again, hit the ball into the ground, watched the ball bounce, thought it was going to fall onto his stumps, and he hit the ball away with his left hand, with
Okay.
the right hand holding the bat, and he was given out.
Okay, brilliant. Now, during that game, there was a number of on-field umpiring issues that went on. One of the main questions that lots of people had is they seemed to be changing the ball. I think there was one point they changed the ball after like 28 deliveries. And it really, really slowed the whole game down because they kept on going. I think there was one part where they brought out a new ball because the ball goes out of shape, doesn't it? And they have some measuring devices.
Yes.
To see if the ball will go through, see if it's still circular.
Yep.
The bit that I thought was quite unusual is that they still checked the new balls that were coming out to go through the holes. Surely that would have been checked beforehand.
Yes, but it doesn't harm checking again. I mean, every time the ball is replaced, in the league that I umpire in the weekends, there is a box of spare balls, and if we need to replace the ball because the original ball is lost, the umpire will check that it goes through and it's the circular. And it's an official league ball, etc.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have thought they would have been checked, but there's no harm in checking it again when you bring it out to the field.
I suppose it's just the speed of play because it got really slow.
It did. Yes, and I mean, gamesmanship, one could say, by some of the players. I'm not in a position where I would criticise an elite panel umpire.
Go on.
Well, they have available to them under the International Cricket Council playing regulations things they can do. For example, if they recognise or believe there is a deliberate slowing down of play, they can warn either the batsman if it's them doing it or the captain of the fielding side. And after a warning, if it continues, they can award 5 penalty runs.
Okay.
That is available to them, although that regulation has never been enforced in Test cricket. And one may argue, what impact would it have anyway?
Yeah. Because doing the fines and stuff after the game is almost irrelevant. It doesn't matter if somebody gets demerit points taken off or half their match fee gone. That doesn't affect the game itself. It's a bit like yellow cards in football. Quite often, kind of has no relevance to the game. Yet another player might be injured.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you want something that's going to affect it there and then, which would be great.
Yes, well, that's down to the people who govern that level of cricket, the International Cricket Council. But you're right. I mean, for example, as a result of the slow over rate, England were docked 2 World Test Championship points, which dropped them down to 3rd place. But there was no action taken against India. So that caused an awful lot of chat, as it were. Discussion.
Why do you think that was?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the only people that really can answer that question are the ICC.
So at a local level, so you umpire at the local level. So where do you umpire?
I umpire in the West of England Premier League, which covers Somerset, Gloucestershire and Wiltshire every Saturday. Well, from the first weekend in May through this year to the last weekend in August.
Okay.
At the recreational level.
Okay. But you've also umpired elsewhere as well?
I've umpired through my connection with the military. I've umpired in military matches and I still do so. And yes, I'm fortunate to have a contact on a very nice ground in Buckinghamshire. and I get invited up there to do a number of games. In fact, I'm off there tomorrow to do a game against the Hong Kong Cricket Club.
Very nice.
And also during the week, fortunate being a retired chap, I'm available during the week. I umpire in Wiltshire County age group games, which stretches from the under-10s right up to the over-70s.
Okay.
And various age group games have formal ECB competitions. So I can be quite busy during the week.
I was going to say, I don't see you very often. You live opposite me, and I see your car going out early in the morning. I think he's off umpiring again.
Well, yes, invariably I am. Yeah, it keeps me busy. I'd rather be doing that out in the fresh air, bit of exercise, mixing with like-minded individuals, great bunch of chaps involved with cricket.
Yeah.
Much rather be doing that than sat at home watching my backside get bigger.
Now, I'm going to put you into a position which you may or may not like.
Oh,
okay,
right.
so I'm going to put you into the scenario. At the end of day 3, England had to come out and bat, and there was about, I think it was about 15 minutes worth they should have been batting for, minimum of 7 minutes. They came out late, and then Crawley managed to do a number of delaying tactics.
Got hit on the hand, didn't he?
Got hit on the hand, but he also pulled away a number of times, and he delayed quite a lot of times, and the umpires seemed to do nothing, and they should have bowled 2 overs, India, and they only bowled 1 over. If you were the umpire in that scenario, what would you have done to have kind of kept control?
Right. Well, let's put it in a scenario that I'm more familiar with, and that is on a Saturday afternoon. There are 42 laws of cricket, and one phrase that crops up quite frequently in those laws is "in the umpire's opinion." So, if in the umpire's opinion there is a deliberate slowing of play, we can take action.
Okay.
In terms of warning and then penalty points. But also in the Western Premier League, for example, it's 50 overs a side. Each side has 3 hours and 15 minutes to bowl their overs. They have to be in a position to commence the final over within 3 hours 15 minutes. Now, if there is a deliberate slowing of play, we can add extra time on so that the one side is not they have a fair shot at the amount of time they play. So that's what I would do. Now, ICC, different playing regulations, but as an outsider looking in, I would have thought that perhaps the umpires could have been a little bit stronger in dealing with the delaying tactics that were on display.
I mean, it was very, very blatant. It was football at its best in regarding the gamesmanship, shall we say.
Yeah.
We're going to have some music, but we're going to come back and talk about one of my favourite topics, which is the spirit of cricket. It's one of the most dangerous topics in the world,
Absolutely.
but we're going to find out all about it. Back with Richard very shortly. Bit of Fleetwood Mac for you now.
Loving you isn't the right thing to do. How can I ever change things that I feel? If I could, maybe I'd give you my word. How can I when you won't take it from me?
It's Richard Beauvoisin back here with Richard Saunders. We're going to be talking all about cricket today. He's a local cricket umpire. We've got a question come in. Now, I've done the stupid thing, Richard, if I'm honest with you, as I brought it up on the emails, and then I've forgotten to zoom it. So therefore, I'm going to squint and try and read it properly, but let's try. So this chap here, I would say who it is at the end to keep you in suspense. He says, increasingly we see the grassroots matches being streamed live and players being able, in many instances, to see the accuracy of some umpiring decisions in slow motion, something the umpire does not have recourse to. Would squadron leader Richard... Well, ex-RAF, so therefore somebody you know. Would squadron leader Richard welcome the ability to review his decisions during a match and be able to reverse errors made? And that's from Martin Nixon.
Right. Yes. Good morning, Martin. Thank you very much indeed for that. Yes. Most of the games nowadays in the Western Premier League are live streamed so that people can watch the game remotely, etc. Whether that video should be used for reviewing is a matter for some debate. There was recently a case where one club did use the video to review an umpire's decision and disagreed with the decision that's on field and then wrote to the league to complain, which was not well received, and I think they were told that they shouldn't do that in future, or are not to do that in future. One thing people need to remember is that we amateur umpires at recreational level see things once in real time, and we make the best decision we can at the time, the most accurate decision we can at the time. And we use any information we can from our colleague. A quick glance to our colleague at the striker's end, is he indicating that he thought it's hit the bat or the pad or whatever? But yes, we see it once in real time and we make a decision. We do not have the safety net of technology and the ability to see things in slow motion. Now, some people have said that maybe that ought to happen in the Western Premier League, certainly in the Prem 1, because it's almost certainly semi-pro, maybe a pro league with the number of county players that play in that league. But then we have that will have an impact on time of the game, and also who's going to be doing the reviewing. Are we going to employ a third umpire in the clubhouse? I also think that if the league is going to go that way, they will need to upgrade the cameras that are being used and have a slow motion replay, etc. I'm not for that personally. I think at our level the human element comes into play. Rather than the reviewing decisions like that, I think the players should be more accepting of the umpire's decision.
Okay. Now, one of the things that we have seen from DRS, which is the decision review system, is actually how right the umpires are most of the time, which I think has been great.
Yes, I think the elite panel are looking for a 95% success rate. But even then, on the elite panel, they do make mistakes. And their mistakes are very publicly exposed using the DRS system and the slow motion, etc., and the video. Only once have I been in a situation where I felt that exposed. Last year I umpired in a game, Somerset Ladies versus Gloucestershire, on the county ground at Taunton, which was a great privilege to umpire on a professional ground. And the scoreboard turned into a huge television screen whenever there was an incident.
Right.
And I was very conscious that every decision I made would be up on the screen for everyone to scrutinise and have that take their own judgment. And I found that quite an exposing experience.
How did you cope with it?
Well, you just have to get on with it and just have confidence that... I mean, even though we're amateur umpires, we are trained. We have to go through a rigorous training process and we are assessed. Our competence levels are assessed. We are required to be observed by respected and highly qualified colleagues. We are required to pass the MCC Laws exam. So just have to have confidence in the training and your knowledge, and body language, sell your decisions, be positive in what you're giving. I mean, that's part of the secret is if you look underconfident when you're giving a decision, the players will doubt you, and they will lose confidence in you. But have trust in your knowledge. You probably know the laws. In fact, it might be a contentious thing to say, but I say the umpires will know the laws better than players. I certainly didn't know the laws when I played, and they certainly know the regulations. So your knowledge basis on which you're basing your decisions is higher. So have confidence in that knowledge and your ability and your training, and give the decision that you see.
Now, during the last test match, there were a number of occasions when, shall we say, it got a bit spicy between the players. There was one occasion Ben Stokes even had to step in and keep players separate from each other. If you were umpiring, how would you have coped with that scenario then? Because I'm guessing it must get heated even on a Saturday afternoon at local level.
It does, absolutely, at times, because people who like cricket are passionate about it, and that passion comes out on the field. And won't be surprised to hear that the players do not agree with all of our decisions, which is their right. They're entitled to disagree. However, it's how they deal with that disagree or how they express that disagreement that may cause issues. It was very disappointing to see that on television at international players doing that, and the England captain having to stand in between his bowler and an Indian batsman. But we have... Well, all cricket has the laws, and Law 42 deals with player conduct. And there are 4 different levels of offence going up the scale of seriousness. And we umpires can use that to deal with player behaviour if necessary. Ideally, if you see a sign to start with, manage it. Have a quick chat with the captain. The captain's meant to... one of the things we say at the toss is if there's an incident on the field, we expect you captains to step in and deal with it. That's part of your role as a leader. Because we umpires, if we have to get involved, we'll probably end up writing a report. And no umpire wants to go that route. However, if they overstep the threshold, then we will act. And we have got the laws in Law 42, level 1 to 4 offences that we can use, which have a gradient of punishment.
Now, there are many people that said that the first 3 days of the test were quite turgid, they were quite slow,
Yep.
and it was because of the antics of delaying the match by Crawley, especially, that kind of gave it the spice that actually made the last 2 days much more entertaining, because there was a bit of needle between the teams. So a number of like Michael Vaughan and Stephen Finn, ex-cricketers, have said, let it go. Just, let's have a bit of needle, and it makes it far more interesting. What's your thoughts?
Well, yes, that is one way to look at it. And along with that argument, people say, well, did it have any impact on the result? No. So why not just let it go? However, this comes down to the spirit of cricket. The game is meant to be played in a certain spirit, a certain etiquette. There's an expected standard of behaviour by all those involved. And it's the umpires who are the final arbiters of what is deemed in the spirit of cricket or unfair, etc. And they should take action, no matter, or they should use the laws or the playing regulations that are available to them to deal with that situation, no matter what level of cricket in which they are umpiring.
Okay, so you're quite happy to let it go a little bit. So what happens on a Saturday if it's getting a little bit spicy then?
Well, again, the players are passionate. There's a little bit of what we call banter, and as long as it stays within the confines of the boundary, and as long as it doesn't become personal, and as long as the language is not too colourful,
yeah,
then and it doesn't go on too long, then yes, I would let it go to a certain degree. But then I would say to the captain, if it gets too much, I say to the captain, right, just quieten the chaps down.
So I've often said this phrase, excuse me, I'm ex-military, you're never going to surprise me regarding banter.
Yeah.
Okay, because military banter is brutal at times.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, you come from that background as well, although the posher part of it, but that's a different matter altogether. And therefore, possibly, is your level of banter a higher level in regards you think it's okay compared to normal civilians?
Well, that's interesting. I mean, I don't think the important thing is we're all human beings and we all have different tolerances to certain things or different things. There are clear guidelines in the laws what constitutes a level 1 offence, which is dissent to an umpire's decision either by action or word of mouth, etc. And some umpires will be a little bit more tolerant. As you go around the circuit umpiring, you build up a relationship with the players and the captains. And hopefully it's a constructive two-way relationship. And they will learn about where your tolerance level is. The other side of that coin, though, is that I think umpires need to be consistent as a body, which is why I think it would be a good idea. I think the MCC have a document on their page, but best practice. In this circumstance, what is considered to be best practice by the umpires? So that if we're all doing the same thing, reacting in the same way to a particular scenario, there is consistency.
And that's what everybody has always wanted with the umpires, which is where DRS has helped, because you now have much more consistency.
Yes, certainly has in the professional game.
Yeah.
Where I think DRS has not helped the recreational game is that questioning the umpire's decision in the professional game is called a review. And they refer to DRS and they get a decision. Questioning an umpire's decision in the recreational game is called dissent. And could be, depending on the level of dissent, could be punishable by up to a 2-match ban or even more.
Okay.
And some of the chaps who see what goes on the TV think they can transfer that behaviour they see the professionals doing to a game on a Saturday afternoon. And that's where sometimes we do have problems.
Have you ever, last question on this, have you ever actually at the recreational game had the opposing camp doing the T sign saying, let's do a review?
Quite regularly.
Right.
Yes, they'll do that. The hardest decision I find I have to make is the close run out.
Right.
And unless I'm 100% sure that it's out, I'll give the benefit of the doubt to the batsman. And in fact, this happened just recently. I was doing a Cornwall Wiltshire under-18s game, a close run out. I gave it not out, and one of the players instantly said, I think we'd review that, umpire.
Yeah.
And I just looked at him and smiled. Because he had a smile on his face. It was done in jest.
Yeah, fair enough. It's time for some more music. When we come back, we're going to do our first section of Ask the Umpire. Can't wait for that. Back with Richard very, very shortly.
Put on my blue suede shoes and I boarded the plane. Touchdown in the land of the Delta Blues in the middle of the pouring rain. Dug down over me. Yeah, I got a first class ticket, but I'm as blue as a boy can be. Then I'm walking in Memphis, just walking with my feet 10 feet off a beam. Walking in Memphis, but do I really feel the way I feel? Saw the ghost of Elvis on Union Avenue, followed after the Delta Blues, in the middle of the pouring rain.
There's Walking in Memphis. Mark Cohen. It's Richard Beauvoisin here on Radio Bath right until midday today. Longest outro in the world. Now, we're talking all about cricket today. Richard Saunders is my guest. He is a local cricket umpire. On to one of my favourite sections. Now, this comes from the TMS Test Match Special. John Holder used to do it. I don't know if they're doing it this year.
I don't think so.
I don't know what the scenario is, but John Holder's sadly not doing it anymore.
He's retired, yeah.
He's retired. So it's the Ask the Umpire. So the principle is to come up with any scenario that you can think of in a cricket match, not in general life, but in a cricket match, and you as the umpire have to make the decision about what to do. Sometimes these are quite bizarre. If you do have any scenarios you want to fox Richard with, we're going to be doing a second set in the second hour as well. Text Bath followed by a message to 80011 or email studio@radiobath.com. But I've got one here. Okay, are you ready for this? Now this goes back to a little bit of the spirit of cricket.
I would just add one thing. Be kind, okay?
And I'm going to add another don't. Okay, right, here we go. A fielder running to chase a ball suddenly stops and doubles over in pain and falls to the turf, not moving. The batsman, concerned, stops running and starts in his direction. Suddenly he rises, this is the fielder by the way, collects the ball and throws it to the wicketkeeper, who throws down the stumps with the striker in mid-pitch. The disgruntled batsman refuses to move until you have made your decision. What call do you make? In the spirit of cricket.
Right. Well, this is more than just the spirit of cricket. This comes down to deception. If a fielder willfully does something that is deceptive to make the batsman do something, and they can be run out as a result, and the umpire sees that, believes it is a willful action by the fielder, immediately call and signal dead ball, and can punish the fielding side.
Okay, so it's not out then?
Yeah, correct.
Not out due to deception?
Yeah.
Lovely. Now, John Holder was very famous for calling dead ball if he had no idea what the answer was.
It's always a good move.
It's always a sense. Right, here we go. Second scenario then, okay? So the accidental catch.
Yeah.
The scenario is the ball hits the batter's helmet, then hits the short leg fielder's knee. So short leg is a fielder in very close.
Yep.
Okay. And then the bowler catches it. Is it out?
This is a very interesting question because there are two different answers depending on the playing regulations. Now, in the laws of cricket, that scenario hits the ball onto a helmet, onto the knee, caught. As long as the ball hasn't touched the ground, the laws of cricket says that's out. Now, in the ICC, International Cricket Council regulations, playing regulations, which are used in one-day internationals and test matches, the same applies. However, at the level of umpiring that I'm involved in, recreational, the ECB, English Cricket Board, who govern recreational cricket, have issued directives, and it's all about safeguarding. As soon as there's any sort of head contact, ball onto helmet, bat onto helmet, head onto ground, whatever, it is dead ball immediately. The umpires call and signal dead ball immediately, and nothing can happen. So in that scenario, under the recreational and ECB guidance, as soon as it hits the helmet, dead ball, the batsman can't be out.
Right. But in international cricket, they would be out.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Right. Next one then. I love this. Pigeon assist. The scenario, the batsman hits the ball, it hits a pigeon in midair and is caught. Are they out?
Again, this is an interesting one. I've got a book written by John Holder, and he covered this scenario, and his answer is that if the pigeon is overflying the ground, it's within the boundary, and the ball strikes it and falls and is caught by the fielder, then the batsman would be given out on the appeal, because it's an act of God. It's unfortunate incident for the batsman, probably more so for the pigeon.
Yeah, I was going to say the pigeon's not very well
No,
now.
he won't be very happy.
No.
But again, the important point is the ball has not hit the ground, so therefore out.
So it is out.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Amazing. I'm just thinking though, if I'm going to bring this up to modern day scenarios. Okay.
Right.
So let's imagine, because if the ball crosses the rope and the fielder catches it, but they haven't touched the ground,
Yep.
and they throw it up, and you see this quite a lot in cricket these days, they kind of throw it up, they step over the boundary, they come back into the field and then catch it again. That is out, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Okay, so am I right in thinking until the ball hits the ground over the boundary, it's not a six or anything?
Correct. The ball has got to make contact with the ground over the boundary or with the boundary rope. If the ball makes contact with the boundary rope, that's directly, that's a six. And yes, I mean, modern day fielders now, they have the presence of mind to do that and the agility, recognise where they are, throw the ball in the air, either to a colleague who's running towards them and staying within the boundary, or have the presence of mind to recover, jump back into the field of play and catch the ball. Yes, that's a legal catch.
Okay, now let's go for the scenario then that the batsman hits the ball, it's flying over the boundary, there happens to be a local person with a drone nearby, it lands on the drone and then goes out of the ground. Is it a six? we haven't got the ball back.
No. That's a very interesting one. And one thing that I was taught with, it's not something that I've seen covered in the laws.
No.
But common sense, I would thought, come into play here. And my gut feeling would be that it would be a dead ball once it hit the drone.
So it's not a six then?
Well, no, because, well...
Wow, it's over the boundary but hasn't touched the ground yet.
I think in this situation, what I might do is call and signal dead ball and go and talk with a colleague.
Okay. So you're just then going to ask somebody else's opinion?
Well, that's the benefit. I mean, two umpires on the pitch, if you're unsure about something, you have the opportunity to go and discuss things. The important thing is you come jointly to the right decision and make the best decision you can, because that's the best thing for the players and for the game.
So I'm guessing there must have been a time when you've made a decision and then you look back and you go, that wasn't the right decision. That must have happened as an umpire.
Yes, I mean, we are human beings, and believe it or not, I know it's hard to believe, perhaps, that we do make mistakes.
No.
Although I would argue that we, as umpires, probably make less mistakes in the game than the players do. But again, we try and minimise the amount of mistakes we have by the training, and we do continuous professional development. The training officer, the county training officer, regularly convenes online training sessions, but also the exchange of information with your colleague. I mean, you agree signals with each other, and if you're in I mean, I had an incident just this last Saturday. I was the standing umpire. A left-handed batsman, ball took the edge, flew low to first slip, who took it one-handed very close to the ground. From where I was, I couldn't see clearly whether he caught the ball, whether it was a clean catch. So the first thing I did was look at my colleague at the striker's end, who was closer to the catching position. He gave me a signal that he thought it was a clean catch. He believed it was a clean catch, so therefore I then turned back to the batsman and gave him out. But yes, you do review your own personal performance. Plus, the captains of the teams, they write a report on us every game, which covers 5 areas, and they let us know what they think.
Okay. Right, here's another one for you then. So this is all about shoes. Okay, so the scenario is that the batsman is running along the ground.
Yeah.
Okay, but for some bizarre reason, he decided to wear clown shoes when he was batting. Okay, now he is running along, and his bat doesn't cross the crease as he's trying to commit the run, but the end of his clown shoes, which are giant shoes, does cross the line. Is he safe?
Well, yes. First thing is that the umpire cannot dictate the footwear that the player wears.
Right.
I mean, I would be shocked to see some chap come out like that. But anyway, the law says...
You never know.
No, you never know, absolutely. The law says that any part of the striker's body, if it is grounded, or either bat, foot, whatever, if it's grounded, any part of his body grounded beyond the popping crease, he is deemed to have made his ground, and therefore cannot be run out.
Okay, so he's safe.
Yeah.
He is safe on that occasion. Fabulous. Right then, here we go. 2 balls on the field. So the scenario is a spare ball. We've discussed earlier balls might get replaced. A spare ball rolls onto the field and confuses the players. What do you do?
As soon as the umpire notices there are 2 balls, calls and signals dead ball immediately.
Just a good old John Holder answer.
Absolutely. Dead ball. Any runs completed prior to that will count, but nothing can happen after that. And then the offending ball is removed, the original ball is picked up, and we carry on with the game.
Brilliant. If anybody has any scenarios they'd like to try and fox Richard with, he's answering them all really well so far, then do email studio@radiobath.com. Lots coming up between 11 and 12 today.
I was tired of my lady. We'd been together too long. Like a worn out recording of a favorite song. So while she lay there sleeping, I read the paper in bed. And in the personal columns, there was this letter I read. If you like pina coladas,
I am king, and my queen will coming down. She'll be waiting in Kingston Town. She'll be waiting in Kingston Town.
It's Richard Beauvoisin here for the second hour now. There's Kingston Town and UB40. It's all about cricket today with my guest Richard Saunders. Alfie is also in the studio. Good morning, Alfie.
Good morning.
There you go. Oh, you come across very well then. It's almost like you sound like you know what you're doing, which is quite nice. Now, before the break, we were talking about hitting the ball over the boundary, a drone taking it and flying away with it. Is it a 6? But we have got the scenario in international cricket of spider cam.
Yeah.
Richard, explain what spider cam is very quickly.
These are these cameras that are suspended on wires above the ground to capture the action shots for Sky TV or whoever's broadcasting it, and they add much to the game, I think. You know,
Yeah.
we as observers, spectators sat at home, we get much closer to the action as a result of these things. And so these things are suspended above the ground by wires, and if the ball hits them, then it's immediate call and signal dead ball.
Okay, I was going to say, what happens if it hits spider cam?
Yeah.
Because I know Joe Root pulled out of one of the shots because he said spider cam got in the way,
Yeah.
and somebody joked about the fact that they were going to be sacked for putting it in the way of Joe Root's eye line at that point.
Yeah.
But there we go. Now, Alfie, you had a question for Richard, didn't you? To ask the question.
Yeah. Do you agree with DRS, so the digitalised
Decision review
Decision
system.
review
Yeah.
system. Well, agree with it. I can see why it's been brought in, because professional sport, and similar to the VAR system they use in football,
Yeah.
professional sport is more than just a sport. It's now a business, and huge amounts of money are on the line, and it can be affected by what goes on the field, how the players play, and also impacted by a referee or an umpire's decision. I think it's added something to the game. The important thing is the right decision is made,
Yeah.
because that's best for the game. Now, if you were asking, would I agree with it down at the recreational level, I would say not.
Yeah.
I think it's fine for the professional game because of the financial impact. I probably think, I've got no evidence to prove this, but I would suggest that it was brought in at the behest and the pressure of the accountants and the financiers as opposed to the players. In the past, the human element, human error, which has always been a part of sport, was exactly that, part of sport. And you could argue what you lost on the swings you gained on the roundabouts. But as I say, professional sport nowadays is a business. There's lots of money based on decisions. If you look at the Premiership, for example, the difference, the financial difference in staying in the Premier League or being demoted is huge. And a side could get demoted based on a referee or an umpire's decision. So I understand the need for it.
But not at the recreational level then.
I don't think there is a need at the recreational. Some players might argue otherwise, but I think there's an awful lot of bits that need to be managed. I think the equipment that is currently used to video games needs to be improved. If we're going to have a DRS system, there needs to be an effective and proper facility to be able to look at things in slow motion. You need a qualified individual to do that. It'll have an impact on the playing time of the game. Say currently we have 3 hours 15 minutes. So I don't think it has a place, because we're not playing for a row of houses on a Saturday afternoon. We're playing and umpiring because we have a passion and a love for the game.
Absolutely. Now, a question for you then. So how do you think you mentioned earlier about being at the county ground in Taunton and seeing all the decisions up on the big screen and the pressure it gave you. How do you think the test umpires cope with the pressure that they're under? Because they are under enormous scrutiny.
Well, I would have thought at the elite panel, the six-figure salary they get is probably comforting. But they weren't appointed to the elite panel yesterday. They have gone through the process. There is now a pathway has been installed by the ECB where a 16-year-old who maybe doesn't want to get involved as a player can start umpiring. And they go through the training process and they go through the various levels. They have their competency checked at various levels and they can work their way up to the national panel and then they can get a professional contract. Indeed, we had one of the Western Premier League umpires was given a professional contract, I believe it was 2 years ago.
Okay, so regarding yourself then, your personal journey, how did you get started as an umpire?
Right, I was a keen player. I started playing at the age of 11 when I went to senior school, and then I also joined Lansdowne, a local club here in Bath, because my father played there. But later on in my playing career, I became a wicketkeeper because I was running a cricket team at one of the RAF stations I was based. And when I got all the chaps together and asked who did what, no one stuck their hand up to the question, who keeps wicket? So I decided to do it. I gave up playing and got into umpire because I was keeping wicket to a chap who's bowling quite fast on a hard, fast wicket in excess of 80 miles an hour, and I went one-handed to a wide ball and didn't take it cleanly and broke two of my fingers, and I decided that was time to give up.
Okay.
I was still serving at the time, and a member of the RAF Cricket Committee approached me and said, and I played certainly at the development level for the RAF, would you like to become an umpire? If so, we'll send you to the RAF College Cranwell for a week on duty to do the course. To me, it was a no-brainer. I could not imagine a summer without cricket. Were I not umpiring now, I'd be at my local ground or whatever, watching. And to be quite honest, the best place to watch a game of cricket and be involved is out in the middle.
Yeah.
So that's how I got involved. And I got qualified in 2011.
Okay.
And I've loved it ever since.
And you mentioned about there being a pathway, so presumably you must have started at the lowest level and you're at a particular level now.
Yeah.
What's kind of is there a hope to go higher? Where are you going with it? Because I know none of us are 21 anymore.
No.
But umpiring isn't necessarily, as much as you're standing there, it's not a physical thing in which you need to be running around everywhere, so you could carry on until much later in life. So what's kind of your plan?
Well, I am pleased and proud that I've been deemed competent enough to umpire in the Premier 1 League of the Western England Premier League, and that was my target. Once upon a time I perhaps thought, would I be good enough or deemed good enough to make the national panel? We have at least 6, maybe 7 umpires on the West of England Premier League panel who are national panel, and they stand in professional county second team games. But I think that boat has sailed. I'm quite happy to be where I am. But yes, once you do the initial course as an umpire, you start off doing local club cricket, and you build up your experience and a portfolio, and you undergo the training and the assessments, and then you build up. I mean, there are other people, more qualified and respected colleagues, who look at your performances. They do things like boundary edge observations, look at how you perform as an umpire. The captain's reports have an input on your deemed competence, and then as long as things go well, you perform well, you pass the exams, then up you go. And I would think I've reached my peak now. I've got no aspirations to go any further.
Why do you think you've reached your peak? Because presumably you're gaining more experience on a daily basis.
Yeah. Yes, although I'm comfortable with what I'm doing. My goal, I started umpiring the Western Premier League in the first year back after lockdown, and I was doing Premier 2 at the time, and my target was to be deemed good enough to do Premier 1, and I've done that for the last 2 years, and I'm pleased. Age is a factor. I mean, bats are different from when I played. The speed of the ball off the bat nowadays is huge compared to when I played, and an umpire's ability to move quickly needs to be considered. We do have one or two senior chaps, shall we say. I've been hit once on the head, woke up in hospital, so I'm comfortable at the level I am, and if I get to the stage where I think I can't move quick enough, or my reactions aren't good enough, or my eyesight's failing and I can't hear things or whatever, then I will walk. I'd rather walk than be pushed.
Fair enough. Now, you mentioned about getting slightly older. What is the hardest part about umpiring at kind of the grassroots level then? What's the hardest part?
Hardest part?
Because you love doing it. You're passionate about the game. I say you get to watch a game of cricket from the best seat in the house.
Yeah.
But what's the hardest part about doing it? Is it kind of looking at, is it a no ball, looking up? Is it LBW, making the decisions, dealing with the players? Where are we going?
Okay. Well, I find the hard decision I have to give is the close run out. But also, I think we have to work harder as a recreational umpire than perhaps the professionals do, because the professionals have all this technology backing them. Now, Martin Nixon, a colleague of mine, he's been a Prem 1 umpire for some time, and a few years ago, in fact it might have been last season, Bridgewater, one of the local teams, had Carlos Braithwaite playing. Oh, in fact, no, another West Indian playing for Frost. Anyway, this guy was reputedly bowling at 90 miles an hour.
Right.
And for us amateurs, it's very difficult to watch the front foot, where it lands, has he bowled a legal ball, and then be able to adjust your sight to see where the ball pitches. The professional umpires don't have to worry about the front foot. They've got someone in the pavilion looking at the camera.
Yeah.
And if the bowler oversteps, you get something in your ear. So that is difficult. And the way to deal with it, or the way I've decided to deal with it, if a bowler's bowling that quickly, is you look at his front foot, see where he is, build up confidence that he's not bowling no balls, and then mainly concentrate on where the ball pitches, because you don't want to be in a position where the ball pitches, it hits the pads, there's a big appeal, and you haven't been looking in the right place.
I suppose you can see in your peripheral vision that he's in approximately the same place every time.
Yeah.
So,
And
so therefore you've got that kind of reference to go,
Absolutely.
it is going to be a good ball, and therefore focus on the big decision.
Yeah.
Has he LBW or whatever it is?
I mean, when the bowler's not bowling that quickly, then it is relatively easy to watch the front foot and the back foot. You've got to be in a position to be able to see the back foot, see whether that breaks the return crease.
Brilliant. Well, we're going to come back with some more scenarios, variety of other bits and pieces still for Richard. If you do have any scenarios you want to set him up with, then email studio@radiobath.com. Really enjoying it. Richard Beauvoisin here right until midday today with Richard Saunders, my guest today. We're talking all about cricket. He is a local cricket umpire. And we're going to talk a little bit now more about some decisions you've had to make, Richard, which can be quite scary for everybody. What's kind of the toughest or the hardest decision you've had to make then?
Well, there's a degree of toughness or hardness to every decision. I mean, there are questions that the umpire should ask himself before, or herself, before giving the decision. Maybe I'd answer it in a slightly different way. I think one nightmare that umpires face, I certainly find it difficult, and that is maybe the last over the game, either side could win, 1 wicket left. You're dreading the hit on the pads.
Right, the LBW
The
decision.
LBW call, yeah. Or the faint snick to the wicketkeeper.
Yeah.
Because no matter what decision you make, you're going to end up as a villain for one of the sides. One side will be elated, the other side will be disappointed. But you've got to put that to one side and make your decision based purely on what you see.
Okay.
Put aside the fact that it's going to have an impact on the game. That's just part of the game of cricket. And if you believe, go through the questions, ask yourself the questions. As long as you get the right answers, if you believe it's out, you give it out.
Now, regarding being I'm going to ask you a very difficult question now, okay? So I mentor a lot of couples regarding dancing.
Yeah.
I then have the pleasure of judging them in the competitions that I'm training them for.
Yeah.
And I have to make sure as a judge that I am completely neutral, and I always say to them, I have a connection to them, so I'm naturally going to look at them probably a bit more than I might do to other people.
Yeah.
But because I know what they can do, I always judge them slightly harsher, so therefore it balances itself out a little bit. If you had the scenario where you've got two teams on the field and you know one of the teams really, really well and the other team are a complete, don't know them at all, how do you judge that being biased or not biased then?
Well, first and foremost, whether you have any connection with the team on the field. Well, if you do have a connection with the team, then you're meant to declare that. And the umpire coordinator who appoints us to games in the Western Premier League will consider that. You declare that you have particular affiliation to one team. That aside, though, I believe that every single umpire has integrity and honesty, and as soon as you step over the boundary, no matter what affiliation or not you might have or not with a team, you become completely impartial.
Okay.
And you base your decisions on what you see, hear, etc. And you make the best decision you can with the information available, gathering information if you can from your colleague. And if you are not able to be impartial, then do not step onto the field as an umpire. Simple as that.
Now, we have a mutual friend, Richard Greaterrocks,
Yes.
who I believe you might be seeing in the near future.
Yes.
Okay. He's a fabulous person. He was on my show a few years ago now.
Yeah.
Okay, but if I was playing against him, I'd want to give him out. There's no way of saying it.
Well, actually, he rang in with
I
a
like
very,
him a lot, by the way.
Yeah, he's a nice chap, and I do see him quite regularly, so I'm very fortunate enough to go to Wormsley to umpire, and he's involved with the cricket there. But last year, I think it was, when I did this show, he rang in and said, "Why do they call you Trigger?" Which I ducked at the time. But when I saw him at Wormsley the next day, I said, "Oh, remember that question you asked me, Richard?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Well, keep your pads out of the way today, otherwise you'll find out."
So you're still completely unbiased, even if it's Richard Greaterocks?
Well, yes. I mean, you have to be.
Yeah.
You have to be impartial, totally impartial. And it's important. I mean, the trouble you'll get into as an umpire, and it's unfair on the players. You have to be there, totally impartial, and treat both teams equally, and make the best decisions you can with the information that you have.
Now, have you ever had the scenario then that you make a decision, let's say it's an LBW decision, you make a triggering decision, a quick snap decision, and then immediately think, actually, that's wrong? Have you ever kind of gone back and said, actually, guys, I got it wrong?
Well, yes. I mean, as I say, umpires are humans. We do make mistakes. We have routines, a process that we go through when we're out on the field. It's called fieldcraft. One of the things is that if there's an appeal for OBW, have a quick look at your colleague. Is your colleague giving you a signal, a prearranged signal that can give you information? For example, if he believes the ball has hit the bat, he'll tap the back of his hand. That tells me straight away he thinks it's hit the... And if I'm not sure what's happened, I'll take his judgment. So one would hope that you would go through that process and get the information, any clues from your colleague, before you got to the position where you made a decision, so you can give the most accurate decision. Now, there have been times when I've reversed decisions, for example, leg byes or whatever the case may be, where I have thought the ball has come off the pad. Sometimes it's very difficult to distinguish the sound of a bat and the pad. Sometimes they can be both quite hard. There are certain grounds where there's background noise that makes it difficult. And if the striker comes to my end and said, actually, I hit that umps and you've given leg byes, I'm more than happy to reverse my decision. I'll give the signal to crossed arms across the chest to the scorers and change my decision. Umpires, if they have made an error and it's been pointed out to them by a player, then I see no problem with the umpire having the courage and integrity to reverse their decision.
Okay. Now, let's say Alfie is here. Hello again, Alfie.
Hello.
Okay, let's say Alfie has decided he's not a sportsman, which I think we discussed off air earlier, didn't we? Okay, but he wants to get into cricket umpiring.
Yeah.
Would you get into mentoring, or what advice would you give to Alfie about getting into cricket umpiring?
Well, you can approach your local club, Trowbridge. They have a very strong setup there, youth teams, ladies teams. You can apply to do umpire training through them. Or you can look at the ECB website online and apply to do a course and join a course there.
Yeah.
Mentoring, I am in fact a mentor this year to one of my colleagues who's looking to go up the next level.
Okay.
And the county development officer, friend and colleague, that's his job, is to develop the umpires, and part of that process is to allocate someone, a mentor, and my role as a mentor is to discuss things, encourage. We talk about his reports, boundary edge observations, etc., and give guidance. So I'm involved in mentoring, and I've done some mentoring in the military as well.
Okay. So would you look at? So let's say you're watching the test match. Do you look at it from a spectator's position, or do you look at it from an umpire's position, going, "Oh, I wouldn't have made that call"?
Well, but both. I mean, the TV coverage is excellent. The camera's right behind the umpire, right behind the bowler's arm. And I must say, I do think, oh, crikey, the umpire's given that out. Would I have given it out? And sometimes I agree, sometimes I disagree. And then you find out the real answer when they go to DRS. I think it's hard, particularly when you are sighted right behind the umpire, so you have virtually the same view, albeit slightly higher.
Yeah.
If you're a qualified umpire, it's hard not to look at it with your umpire head on. If I'm sat at 90 degrees to the wicket, then I sit there as a spectator, because you obviously can't see. So
Now, how long have you been umpiring for now, then?
since 2011.
Since 2011. So in that time, if we go back to the DRS system, back in the late 1990s, or obviously before then, before it came in, spinners were renowned for not getting wickets, even when it was really obvious it was going to hit the stumps, because the umpires were like, oh, they've taken a big stride. And DRS changed a lot of that, and umpires give many more decisions now because of DRS, because it's being seen to be going on to hit the stumps. Have you kind of looked at the technology and gone, actually, I've changed the way I do it now?
I wouldn't say I've changed the way I do it. I mean, there's lots of things to consider when giving out an LBW appeal or responding to an LBW appeal. You know, where did the ball pitch? Where was the point of impact? Was it in line with the stumps? Did the ball pitch outside leg stump, for example? Straight away, that's an easy one, not out. And how far down the wicket is the striker? Because you've got to make an assessment of the distance between the point of impact on the pad to the stumps. What is that distance? How much has the ball moved from a spinner? Is he spinning it greatly? Now, at the point of impact, Dan, it might appear it's right in front of the stumps. Easy decision, he's out. However, when you consider the distance the ball still has to travel and the angle at which it's travelling, by the time it gets to the wickets, it will be missing.
Yeah.
So I tend to, in that situation, I would give the benefit of the doubt to the batsman and saying that it's not out, because I cannot be 100% sure that the ball, by the time it gets to the wickets, is going to be in line and hit the wickets.
Yeah. Okay. And last question I've got for you. We spoke about the spirit of cricket earlier and how Ben Stokes had to get in between other players and stuff. Yeah. And I know kind of people are very passionate, but is local cricket and village matches, is it as friendly as people think it is?
Some are, some aren't. And that comes down to the characters involved. I mean, as I said, umpires and players are involved in cricket because we have a passion for the game and we love it. And that passion comes out in different ways in certain people. And it's the umpires to deal with that. Hopefully you recognise it and be able to step in and control that passion or manage that passion before you get to the point where you have to use Law 42 and the punitive actions that are available to us. But it is... passion can be good or bad.
Yeah.
There are umpires who have found the passion too much and therefore have walked away, which is very sad. We don't have sufficient umpires as it is momentarily within Wiltshire, and we need to encourage more people in it. So to have qualified umpires walking away because they do not like the passion that is displayed by some players is disappointing. But that comes down to leadership of the captain as well. The captain needs to set an example. He needs to control his players.
Yeah.
So when they become too passionate and too boisterous, he needs to step in. If he won't, the umpires should.
Brilliant.
And will.
We're going to come back with one more section. It's going to be all about Ask the Umpire again. Loads of scenarios coming up for Richard. Any of those that you want to do, email studio@radiobath.com. Here till midday today. There's Starman and David Bowie. It's Richard Beauvoisin here until midday. Last little part now with Richard Saunders, my guest. We've been talking cricket all morning. He's a local cricket umpire. Alfie's also here, who's on work experience. How are you finding being on air? Is this your first time, Alfie, on air?
Yes, it's good, yeah.
It's exciting, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Nice to see what goes on inside the studio as well.
And is it what you expected for a radio studio?
I think so. It's very sort of technological and
It
complicated
is.
as well.
I mean, this desk, the Alice Air 2000, I'm pretty certain was built a long time before the year 2000.
Yeah, I
That's
bet.
all I'm saying. But apparently, I found out last week, this desk actually came from Capital Radio in
Oh, wow.
London. So there's probably some properly famous people, famous DJs, that have pressed these same faders that I am today.
Oh, wow, yeah.
That is very exciting. I need to find out who it was, actually. Who used to be on at that point. But there's my own little world. Anyway, let's get back to cricket, shall we? Now, Alfie, you had a question for Richard about women umpires.
Yeah, does the word change for umpire if it's a woman, or does
No.
it stay the same?
Umpire is unisex, so whether male or female, they are addressed as umpire.
Yeah.
And are there many women cricket umpires?
Well, yes, there are professional female umpires. We don't come across that many in recreational cricket. I've certainly come across some in military cricket, and we want to encourage more. I mean, I've stood in a lot of ladies' games this year. We have male umpires officiating in county women's cricket. We need to encourage more people to get into umpiring, both male and female, and also into scoring. If you have a passion, either go through your local cricket club, you can get the details online, or you can go onto the Wiltshire Association of Cricket Officials, and the committee member details are on there, and contact the education officer or the development officer, and they will help you to get involved, register to do the courses, etc.
Brilliant. So if anybody wants to get involved, they can go to that website.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Right, it's time for some more scenarios, okay?
Oh, dear.
Now, we were talking about, off air, about if an umpire wasn't doing that well. Is that what you guys were talking about? You were chatting
Yeah.
about, if somebody isn't kind of, that good.
Yeah.
So you are the official in a local club match between two semi-pro teams. You notice that your colleague has been making some abysmal decisions, and at the end of the next over you have a chat with him. He reveals to you that he has had a bit too much alcohol the night before and has been guessing all morning thus far.
Oh my goodness.
There is no third or fourth umpire to rely on. A spectator offers to take over for him. Can he replace your inebriated colleague?
Well,
has that ever happened to you? Is the
No,
question
it
as well?
hasn't. No, it hasn't. I would hope that you would recognise this situation before it got that far. The short answer is yes. If one of the qualified umpires becomes incapacitated during the game, then someone else can replace them. However, they are restricted to doing the striker's end, in other words, the square leg. So the qualified umpire would stand at each end
Okay.
from which they're bowling, and then either the 12th man or number 11 or even a spectator would stand at the square leg, the striker's end.
So what is the point of the square leg umpire then?
Well, the square leg umpire is there to make certain judgments in terms of stumpings, run-outs obviously at that end, and also, one would hope, give support and information to the standing umpire at the bowler's end, give an indication of how high the ball is bouncing, because if over shoulder height or over head height, because action needs to be taken. Whether it's a beamer, does it go above waist height?
Yeah.
Because that would be a no ball. Not that they would call it, but again, give the information when asked to the standing umpire. So they do have a role, but if you've only got one qualified umpire on the field, then his place or her place is at the bowler's end.
Because I go back to football, and I remember playing in many teams when I was younger. And what often happened is that the substitutes would run the line.
Yeah.
They'd be the linesmen.
Yeah.
And at which point they became qualified to be lines people, I have no idea. And of course, there was always bias because you were always either going for your team or against.
Yeah.
So it must be very difficult. If you've got a spectator come on, they might be one of the supporters of the teams.
Well, yes. That is true. You just have to hope that they're not biased. Mind you, I've been at some matches where, from some of the comments received from the other side of the boundary, you'd think that everyone out there is a qualified umpire and they can see things better than you can, even though they're 90 degrees to the wicket. But it's better to have someone there
than not.
Than not.
Okay. Right. Here's the next scenario for you then. Okay, it's the bouncing ball. So the batsman hits the ball, it hits his helmet, it drops onto the stumps, but it doesn't dislodge the bails. The bails are quite heavy these days, and then it is caught. Are they out?
So it hits the helmet.
Hits the helmet, hits the stumps, doesn't dislodge the bails, and it's caught. So is the batter out?
Right. Recreational cricket, as soon as the ball hits the helmet, dead ball, nothing else can happen.
Okay.
The important point there is it's hit the helmet. Okay, in terms of the law, if it hits the helmet, you can be caught off the helmet. It hits the stumps. It hasn't dislodged the bail. In order to be out bowled, run out, stumped or whatever, a bail needs to be removed. Only one bail is necessary.
Yep.
It hits the top of the stumps and then is caught, and it hasn't hit the ground. Then those situations, under ICC playing regulations, could be deemed out.
Okay. Fabulous. Right, this next one, obviously, this used to happen a lot more. I haven't seen this happen for a long, long time. Streaker interference.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the scenario is that the ball is hit, a streaker has run onto the pitch, deflects the ball onto the stumps. Is it out?
Not out, no.
Why not?
This is, if I can deem it so, a foreign object has come onto the field of play. So as soon as there's any interference from this foreign object, the ball has hit this individual, call and signal dead ball, and nothing else can happen after that.
Okay. All right. Brilliant. Right. It is the closing overs of an important match with the series tied at 2-2. An egotistical batsman is on 96 not out with 1 run needed to win the match for his team. He hits the ball towards the boundary and jogs towards the striker's end, eventually completing the run. His teammates all rush onto the field, one of them picking up the ball in celebration. The batsman protests loudly to you, saying that the ball would have gone for 4 had his teammate not picked it up, giving him a century. You are almost certain that had the ball not been picked up, it would have indeed rolled over the rope. What do you tell the batsman? Has he got his century, or is it just 1 run? It's a tricky one, isn't it?
It is a tricky one. I wonder who's coming with this one.
No, this is one I've come up with.
Oh, right. Oh, thank you for that.
That's okay.
Right, in the scenario where the ball has not crossed the boundary,
Yeah.
as soon as they've completed the run, then the game is won. So the striker does not get to a century. However, if someone runs onto the field and picks the ball up, but in the umpire's opinion, the ball had sufficient momentum to have crossed the boundary had it not been intercepted, then you award 4 runs.
Okay. So you've gone for both answers, basically. I believe the official answer that I've got, according to my sheets here, is that the game is over once the 1 run has been completed, so therefore he wouldn't have got the 4 runs. But it seems cruel if it would have gone for 4 runs and he'd have got a century and won the game. But there we go.
Yeah, but it's the fact that, because in this scenario, if it were not for the end of the game, in a scenario where a fielder or someone else, a third party, comes onto the field of play and picks up the ball, but in the umpire's opinion, it had sufficient momentum to have crossed the boundary, they would award a 4.
Okay, next scenario then, and this is, I think, is starting to happen more and more, is that bowlers can quite often not just bowl right-handed, but left-handed as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so the scenario is the bowler starts his run-up in a right-handed position, but he bowls the ball left-handed without notice. Can the batsman be out?
No, immediately, umpire will call no ball followed by dead ball. The bowler is required to inform the umpire, who can then inform the strikers, of a change of action. Now, in a recent league game, I came across a young man who could bowl equally as well left and right-handed, and indeed in the match he did so. However, before he changed from left to right or right to left, he informed me, said, umpire, I'm now going to bowl this ball, and I then informed the batsman.
Okay.
And they, because they may wish to adjust their stance and their guard, etc. So if the bowler wishes to change his action, then he's required to inform the umpire, otherwise no ball.
Okay. And your last one, Richard, the missing bail. So quite often, wicket keepers smash the stumps out, and then the wicket keepers will put the bails back on, and they kind of go, "Yes, I've done it, umpire, honest gov." But they forget on this occasion to put one bail down. It's never placed on the stumps.
Yeah.
The bowler then bowls the ball, and the ball hits the stumps. Is the batsman out?
No, because it's the umpire's responsibility to make sure that the wickets are being constructed correctly. There are times, for example, in high winds and in the absence of heavy bails, then the umpires can decide to play without bails on the stumps. And then if the ball hits the wicket, the umpire will give it out. But if one bail has not been replaced properly, one would hope that the umpire at the bowler's end will notice this before the ball has been delivered.
Depends if he's inebriated from the night before.
Absolutely. And before the bowler gets his delivery stride, call and signal dead ball. Nothing else can happen, and then ask his colleague, the inebriated colleague at the striker's end, to waddle in and put the bail on the stumps.
And on that note, our time is up. Thank you so much for coming in today, Richard. I've thoroughly enjoyed it again. The time has flown by so quickly. It's our third year of doing it. I hope to have you back next year again. We'll come up with some more scenarios, no doubt.
And thank you very much indeed. Yes, I've enjoyed it.
Brilliant. I'm back next week. Ben is back next week. We're going to be catching up with AI, also talking about a bit of trading as well. No official advice going to be given, but we're just going to be chatting about trading and how they do it. Have a great week. I'll see you again at 10 o'clock next Thursday.